Have you ever wondered who is doing the research that will impact your future? The Research Made Possible podcast lets you meet those people and learn how research at the University of Kentucky is changing what's possible in Kentucky and beyond. Here's Erin Wicki from Research Communications.
Today we're diving into the world of neuroscience and recovery with two special guests from the University of Kentucky. Joining us are Dr. John Genzel, Director of the Spinal Cord and Brain Injury Research Center and Professor of Physiology in the UK College of Medicine, and Lyric Johnson, a senior in the College of Public Health, who has spent the summer in the UK Arts program that's All Access Research Training Scholars. We'll talk about this program, how it gives hands-on experience in neuroscience research, all the exciting things happening at the Spinal Cord and Brain Injury Research Center, and what drives these scientists to push the boundaries of discovery. So thank you both for talking with me today. First, Dr. Genzel, can you give us an overview of the Spinal Cord and Brain Injury Research Center and its mission?
Sure, yeah. So SCOBRC, as we call it, the Spinal Cord and Brain Injury Research Center, has been around for 25 years now or so. It came about through the Kentucky Spinal Cord and Head Injury Research Trust. So this was legislation passed in the late 90s that was sparked by a state senator having a niece who suffered a spinal cord injury. And Tim Shaughnessy is the senator, and he and his brother sort of realized that there's not much out there to help someone after they've suffered a spinal cord injury. And this sparked legislation, which was originally tied to speeding tickets, but provided funds to set up research centers focused on neurotrauma, both at the University of Kentucky and the University of Louisville. And so now, fast forward 25 years, we have almost an entire floor of one of our research buildings that's dedicated to this research that houses the center. We have 11 faculty members who have various degrees of endowments that are supported by the trust as well. And our mission is to try to improve the lives of individuals with spinal cord and traumatic brain injuries by researching therapeutic interventions, mechanisms behind these different types of neural injuries, and try to develop translational and clinical therapies.
What are some of those big questions right now that your center is trying to answer?
Yeah, so we fundamentally, for a long time, have really been known for our neuroprotection research, and that's really trying to develop therapies that you would intervene or give to someone shortly after they suffer some sort of neurotrauma. That's kind of what we've been known for. We've gotten different research in that way that's eventually led to some clinical trials. We're trying now, our active goal is really to be much closer to sort of that clinical population, to get closer to the translational research. So we're working hard with clinicians in different departments in the College of Medicine to try to have our research really be, a step away from actual implementation into a clinical population. It's a challenge, and it's something that we're sort of striving to achieve.
Can you tell me a little bit about the arts program and what makes it unique?
Yeah, sure. So the arts program started kind of in the midst of all the post-pandemic or sort of pandemic activities. In 2021 was our first cohort. We now have had 5 cohorts, Lyrics in our 5th year. And the goal is really to provide research opportunities for people who otherwise may have been overlooked for research activities, may not quite have the strongest GPAs. We really try to provide a research opportunity for individuals who otherwise may not have received it. We started with about 5 people in the first year. This last year we had 10, and we've seen about a 20% increase year after year. Last year we sort of stabilized. The program has fortunately also been supported by the trust. They provided $1 million endowment to the center 2 years ago to sustain this program and really to keep it in perpetuity. So, with those funds, we have the ability to support 10 scholars right now every summer and provide them with a stipend to do research in the center.
Well, Lyric, how did you hear about the program and what made you want to apply?
Yeah, so I was wanting to use my last undergrad summer doing something I've never thought of doing. My good friend and other students in the Neuro Club that she's a part of told me about arts. Oh, do arts. And I'm just like, what place do I have in research and lab research? Because I want to go into dentistry, and I just didn't really know what else I could do here at UK. So my friend set me up with Ms. Zell, who also works at the arts, and Dr. Genzel, and we had a meeting, and that's when I felt reassured that I have a place in research, even though I'm not in med or neuro. I was pretty nervous about it, but everybody in our other students that's also never done research before, people that have done wet lab research, Dr. Gensel, Mizell, Dr. Voss, everybody in the lab has reassured me that you can't do this. It takes practice. So it made me happier to come to the lab every day and learn something new or sharpen a skill that I'm working on. I just really want to take this opportunity and use it to encourage others that may not feel like they have a place in research, and just to try different things, because I was surrounded by people with different career goals than I am, but we all want to do similar things and help others and use our research skills to help treatments or any solution in the healthcare world.
Dr. Gensel, what do you hope students take away from this experience, this summer research experience?
Yeah, I mean, I think, again, for me, when I was kind of in this path and I was a junior and I sort of off the cuff signed up and got some research experience, but it changed my entire career trajectory. And I think so often people feel either they're not cut out for research, they don't, have the expertise or what it takes to do it, or just haven't had the experience or opportunity. And, our goal for this program is for people to be exposed to research, to help shape their careers. Ultimately, the goal for anyone that comes to the center is to leave the center in a better place professionally, hopefully beyond that too, than they were when they came in. And I think that happens. And it happens in ways, some people, you can take a student who maybe, kind of chugging along and drastically change their trajectory through research exposure. There's also opportunity for people to accelerate their trajectory, and whether that's ultimately going into neuroscience and research, or if that's also getting some understanding in that the path they're on is the one they want to be on, or that they don't want to be involved in research. It's a lot better to understand that over a 10-week program than it is 2 years into a PhD program, right? Mm-hmm. So we've kind of seen all those things happen.
Why do you feel it's important to invest in programs that bring students into this type of research program?
Well, I think, on the surface of it, we can recruit more scientists. That's important, right? But I also think that so much of what we do as professionals and outside of our professional life depends on our ability to kind of distill good, solid information from other information. I mean, research is sort of fundamental to how decision-making processes happen. And I think the extent to which you can get a little bit of that hands-on experience can help. In Lyric's case, as you go on to dentistry, you're going to have to think about how you're going to treat people. And you're going to have to use some sort of deduction from the knowledge and evidence that's out there to make informed decisions, and understanding the nuances of how those papers get published, the research that goes into it, I think helps influence all those things. And that's aside from the fact that you may find down the road too that you don't know the answer to a question, but you have a way to think about how to answer it, and you may engage in research. So, I mean, that's, I think, the goals for us. There's also the desire to have people understand, I think, a little bit more specifically, about spinal cord and traumatic brain injury in terms of the complications associated with it, hopefully getting some better appreciation of maybe what lives are like for people that suffer from these diseases and illnesses, so that they can then, be passionate and help create the next generation of therapies and scientists that need to help. I feel like so many times people are concerned that they're not going to fit in, or that they don't belong. And I think that goes away pretty quick. Hopefully within the first couple of days, you realize, we have a full range. We have people who do have some research experience. But I mean, we had one student this year who was 35 years old, who was going back, post-bac, doing work. We've had parents who have a couple, who've had some challenges getting the grades that would make them competitive for research, because they have, they're working full-time outside of school and taking care of a 2-year-old, right? And so, seeing those individuals come in and having them wide-eyed and nervous in the first hour, and then by the end giving, a talk on the research that they've done in front of 100 people in our symposium, that's a wonderful, wonderful thing to experience every year.
Where do you see the future of spinal cord and brain injury research heading maybe in the next 5 to 10 years?
Yeah, I mean, I think, the spinal cord injury field has sort of been kind of at the cutting edge of certain trends in science. One of those things is open data sharing and the concept of making sort of community data available so that we publish all the research that's made. That's been something that's been happening in the spinal cord injury field for a long time, and traumatic brain injury as well. We're seeing, a push towards really translational research. That's a buzzword, but I think what it really means is having sort of that clinical population in mind in all the research that you do, and really trying to be as close as possible to actual applications in humans. And I think that's where general research is going. But, as a field, the spinal cord and traumatic brain injury fields have sort of been in that space for a little bit. And I think that's really where it's going to keep going.
Thank you for listening to the Research Made Possible podcast. Click news on our site, research.uky.edu, to learn more.